Hello, everyone. It's the fourth episode of Tech Founders Talk, and today we have our guest as Bryan. Bryan is the co-founder of GreenPal, and he will tell us about his online marketplace. So, hello, Bryan. It's nice to have you here.
Hey, sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Donna.
Great. So, can you tell a little bit about your idea about this online marketplace that connects homeowners with lawn care professionals?
Yeah, so GreenPal is like the Uber for lawn mowing. So let's say you have a house and you have a yard. Somebody's got to cut the grass to keep it short. GreenPal enables a homeowner or a home renter to hire a lawn mowing service in a matter of minutes. So normally you would have to call these people and figure out their schedule, figure out their price, and leave voicemails or emails. GreenPal enables you to get quotes really quickly, read reviews about them, and just hire them like ordering an Uber. And so they come out, cut your grass, and if that goes well, you'll get a picture of the completed lawn after it's done, and then you can hire them for the rest of the lawn mowing season, and
Mhm.
just kind of set it and forget it. And so it's a great way for homeowners to save time and money on getting their grass cut. And then for service providers, they use the platform to operate their business and grow their business on top of the technology we have built for them.
Great, thanks. And how did you come up with this idea? Because usually you have to do some market research or you can find some gaps in user needs. How did you come up with that?
Yeah, so I think when you're starting a new business, it can help to be solving your own problem, be trying to fix something that you see as wrong with the world. So for me, I actually started mowing grass in high school as a way to make extra money. And I grew this lawn mowing business of mine as I was 19, 20 years old into a real landscaping company that had over 150 employees, over $10 million in revenue over a 15-year period of time. And so I grew a landscaping business from scratch. I saw how difficult it was for lawn mowing services to operate their business efficiently and how difficult it was for them to get connected with homeowners in their neighborhood who just want to hire them for grass cutting, but they don't know who they are. They don't have any way to reach them. And
Mhm.
so seeing this problem exist on a daily basis running my first company enabled me to kind of see, okay, technology can make this more easy for both sides of this marketplace, both sides of this transaction. And so the idea for GreenPal was a very obvious one for me. Started the company 7 years ago with two co-founders, and we've been working on it ever since, just building the marketplace, building the platform. And we have over 200,000 homeowners that use the platform today in the United States.
Oh, that's great. And which state did you start in?
We started in our hometown of Nashville, Tennessee, and we stayed in Nashville for 3 years, only in Nashville, to figure out how to make the Uber for lawn mowing work, how to build the marketplace, what screens needed to look like, what features we needed, how to make it reliable and cost effective. All of these things we kind of figured out in our own backyard. And then as time went on, we were able to expand to other cities in the United States. And now we're in nationwide in the United States. We're in every major city.
That's great. Speaking about technology, actually, I would like to know, and maybe you can tell our readers how did you come up with the best solution to implement it? Maybe you consult some technical partner, or what technology did you use, and how did you decide to use it?
Yeah, it's a really good question because my first business was just a traditional lawn mowing business. It didn't use technology hardly at all. And so, starting my second business, which is a tech startup, it is a technology enabled marketplace. I had to learn how to build software. I didn't know how to do that, and I was very naive when I started it. I didn't know what I didn't know, and that kind of was the thing that got me started because I didn't know how hard it was going to be. And so the first thing my two co-founders and I did was we paid a development agency in Nashville $150,000 to build the first version of GreenPal.
Wow.
And we thought we would launch that and we would just market it and grow it, and we would just be off and running on our way to success. But that's not how it turned out. We launched the first version and it was a total failure. It was difficult to use. Nobody wanted to use it. It didn't really solve the problems it should solve, and we became we got very frustrated. We were very disappointed, but we were confronted with the reality that if we're going to have if we're going to be a tech startup, we need to learn how to build technology. And so we went to work on ourselves at the same time of working on the business. We read every blog post we could read. We took on every online class we could take to learn how to build back end and front end technologies. And my co-founder even went to a boot camp for 7 months to learn how to build Ruby on Rails.
Wow.
And so for us, we had to spend a couple of years learning how to build software while building the second version of GreenPal. And it was a very long, hard journey, but it was kind of worth it. And so looking back 7 years later, I'm glad we stuck with it because now we have a profitable, growing business. But the first 3 or 4 years were very much an exercise in faith.
Okay, very nice. Very interesting journey, in fact. And talking about tech aspects, did you decide to change some technology or rebuild something late, or you just expanded it? Maybe you made some mistakes that you can share.
Yeah, so the first mistake was trying to outsource everything before we could figure out how to do it ourselves. And so the first version was built in PHP because the lead developer for the agency that we hired was an expert in PHP. And ideally, we could have taken that and fixed what was wrong with it and iterated on top of it. But the only boot camp in Nashville that at the time was teaching Ruby on Rails. And so we had to start from scratch to rebuild it in Ruby on Rails. And so that was a mistake that we made. If we were going to outsource the first version, we at least should have outsourced it in a technology that we could have learned and built on top of and iterated on. So that was a mistake. The next mistake we made was we tried to launch a mobile app native too soon before we figured out the prototype for what we needed to build in the first place. So the first thing we did is we went to work on a native mobile app. We really didn't even know what the interfaces needed to look like. And so ideally, we would have just not built a mobile app for a while, and we would have just relied on web mobile, figured out what worked, and then built a mobile app. But we wasted like 2 years of our time trying to be good in both places, and we really just should have focused on one platform. And so that was another mistake that we made. Now, here we are 7 years later. We have iterated on top of what we have, and we have it honed in onto a good product experience. And then we export that to mobile platforms because the web is just easier to build on and for us. And so we should have just figured it out on the web and then built the mobile apps. So there were several mistakes made in terms of trying to scale too quickly before we really figured out the right recipe for success. And for us, we're a bootstrapped startup. We haven't taken any outside capital. So we have to be very careful with how we spend our time and what we focus our efforts on. And so that's, if I could have done it all over again, that's how I would have done it.
Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, I guess it's much more important to focus on one thing and do it right, and then move to another thing.
Yes.
But thank you. It's very important to hear. And also, would like to ask. Talking about your platform, it says that it connects lawn care professionals with people who need them. So, and it says that your system checks their skills. Can you explain how it works actually?
Yes. So every time a lawn mowing service wants to offer their services on our platform, they have to go through a series of checks to make sure that they are in the business and that they'll do a good job. So the first thing that we do is we verify what kind of equipment they have. Do they have the proper commercial grade lawn mowing equipment so they can do a good job? The next thing we do is we ask them for background references, other customers that they have worked for, and we verify those to make sure that they at least have some references. Then they have to upload a proper ID and go through a background bank check before they can receive payments on our platform. So there's these verification processes that we do on every service provider. So when a homeowner hires them, they know they're getting somebody who's legit. They know that they're getting somebody who's a real person who says who they say they are. And that's an experience that we offer for homeowners that necessarily wouldn't exist if they were just calling somebody on Craigslist or on Google. They wouldn't necessarily be able to know those things about that person. So that's something we do like day one. And then as the service provider, the lawn care professional does transactions on the platform, we accumulate reviews about them to make sure that they're doing a good job, how often they show up on time, other statistics like how often they get booked for a second lawn mowing, to really understand who's good and who's not. And the service providers that don't make the cut, we expel them from the platform because they're not offering a good experience to the homeowners who need to get this service done.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Sounds like a great experience to be a user of your platform. And can you share what challenges did you face when entering the market? Because I guess there were some similar products, or you were the first like this. It's interesting.
We are the only platform like this in the world that does this thing, but we still compete with the status quo, the old way of doing things. Unfortunately, people still predominantly do it the hard way. If they need to get somebody to mow their yard, they're still going to ask friends and family for recommendations or try to look on Facebook or something like that. And it's just the hard way because they might look on Google for GreenPal. They may have heard of GreenPal, but they may not have. And so the status quo of how people traditionally would approach this problem is the primary point of competition that we face, because we need to further expand our awareness of our brand in the United States. And that's what we're working on actually today is being able to let more people know about the platform and let them know that this is the easiest way in the world to get this service done.
Very interesting. And what monetization model did you choose for your platform? Because you can use ads, you can use charge for the deals. What did you choose and why?
Yeah, so we have two ways that we make money. The first is the service providers that use our platform they pay a small subscription fee to have access to the tools and to be able to access the marketplace. And then the second way that we make money is we charge a small transactional fee for every single service that they do on the marketplace. So they only pay when they're hired, and they only pay when they have a successful transaction. And so this kind of keeps our interests aligned with the service providers that use our technology, is if they win, the platform wins, and vice versa. And so that transactional monetization helps us kind of keep everybody aligned and going towards the same goals.
Okay, nice. And talking about the current situation, because with the pandemics, everything has changed a bit. Can you share a bit? How can you see what changes do you see in your market, in online marketplaces, and how has it affected your product?
Yeah, so we got lucky. A lot of online marketplaces were benefited by the current situation, and some weren't. If you're in travel or anything like that, you obviously were hurt by this. But for us, there's a lot of apps that are having record years, like Uber Eats, Uber, DoorDash, Postmates. These are all like marketplaces that connect people who need to get grocery delivery done. Like, these companies are doing awesome, and we're kind of riding the wave of this contactless ordering, being able to order something to be done at your home, but not have to meet with somebody and not have to exchange cash. Is really helped us. And so we've kind of repositioned the way we we message the product as a contactless way to hire a lawn mowing service. Whereas traditionally you might have to meet with this person in the front yard and negotiate with them or walk around the property or exchange cash with them. We enable everything to be done with no face-to-face contact, and in many cases you don't even have to talk to them. You can just order it right off the app.
Yeah, I guess it's the future of this service, and it's very popular now that you don't have actually to contact a person. It's very
Yeah,
great.
we like to think so.
Okay. And did you use any open source, ready-to-use marketplace software to build this, or you built everything from scratch? Because I know there are some ready-to-use solutions, so it's interesting to know.
Yeah, so there's a couple platforms that I think one's called Share Tribe. That I haven't really looked into them. I don't know how they work. We did not use anything like that. We built everything from scratch. I think, if I had to do it all over again, I still would build it from scratch. But I think those options might be good to validate an idea. Like maybe you want to start like the Uber for massages and you don't know if it's going to be a good idea or not. You can maybe like use Share Tribe to like pop up something and try it out. I mean, that's a really good way to like validate if an idea is good or not. And then once you do, I think you're probably gonna have to take a step back and rebuild it and have it yourself, because like no two services are the same. And so every vertical is going to have a different set of needs, and you kind of have to build your own tools to serve those users. So I believe you're like, to really compete and build a scaled marketplace that connects buyers and sellers, you're probably going to need to have your own technology. But those open source kind of like platforms are probably good to validate ideas.
Okay, great. And also, I would like to know if you can share how did you find your first users? Because it's one thing to build your product, and it's another thing to get it used, to find your first customers, right? So, can you share how did you start doing that?
Yeah. And so when we launched the first version, we didn't have any kind of user acquisition strategy. We had to pass out flyers, door hangers all over our city, like 200,000 of them, just getting the word out about the platform. And we knew we didn't want to do that long term, but it was something that we had to do that day to get people to try it out. And we were able to get 200 or 300 people to use it. And then we met with as many of those people as that would meet with us, and we talked to them. What problem did you think the platform would solve for you, or where did it not solve a problem for you, and try to really learn if we were building something that people wanted or not. And after we did that, we had to figure out, okay, well, we got to figure out a scalable way to attract users. And for us, we bet everything on organic search. We really, really, really focus a lot of effort on competing in organic search. And for when somebody's looking for a lawn mowing service in their town, GreenPal pops up as an option. And as it turns out, it's really difficult to compete in organic search, but we have focused a lot of the efforts of the company to do that.
That's interesting. And do you use it now? Like, do you continue?
Yes, over half of our users still to this day come from Google, just searching for a lawn mowing service, and they stumble across one of our landing pages, and what is this thing, GreenPal? I'll give it a try. And so that's how half of our users learn about the platform. The other half come from word of mouth.
Okay, I guess it's a great source. I mean, organic search it's can be really effective in some industries.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. And what can you share about your next plans? Do you plan to expand in other countries maybe, or you plan to stay in US?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we still have quite a bit of ways to go in the United States. We are in every major city. We have several 100,000 people using the platform. We're going to do $20 million in revenue this year. So we're doing well. We've come a long way in 7 years, but we still have a long way to go in the United States in terms of the very small towns throughout the country. After that, yeah, we want to expand into Canada, UK, Australia, then maybe throughout Europe. As it turns out, this idea of Uber for lawn mowing is not a real sexy one. There's not a whole lot of people working on it. So it's kind of this something that we're working on and that we see ourselves doing 5, 10, 20 years from now.
Great, great. Maybe I will see you in our country one day.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. And the last question I have for you today is what advice can you give to tech startuppers who are just starting, who have their ideas, but they're not sure if it will work, where to start? Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously get started, less time planning, more time doing, validate the idea. Like we mentioned with Share Tribe, if you have an idea for a marketplace, Share Tribe might be a good way to validate. Like spend less time thinking and more time doing. And then the other thing is like understand it's going to be 3 or 5 years before you have anything. The first year is going to be a total waste, but don't give up. The second year, you might figure a little something out, but it's not till year 3, 4, and 5 till you really have a business. And so don't get started on any idea for any tech product unless you're willing to dedicate 5 to 10 years to it, because that's how long it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great journey with a lot of fun, but also a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. It's very valuable for our listeners and for us. So it was great to talk to you. And yeah, thank you.
Awesome, Donna. Thanks for having me on.